Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at all the research you sent in on USOs. Um, Unidentified submerged objects. Will be covering historical accounts, scientific theories, and even government investigations into these underwater enigmas.
That's right. And what makes this topic so interesting is the sheer vastness of the unknown.
Yeah, we often say we know more about the surface and the moon than our own ocean floor.
Exactly. And that makes it the perfect place for these mysterious objects.
Okay, so before we go any further, let's make sure we're all on the same page. What exactly are USOs, and how are they different from those other mysterious objects we hear about, the UAPs?
Good point. Essentially, a USO is any unidentified object that's detected underwater.
So it's like a subset of UAPs, since UAPs could be anything unidentified in the air or space.
Exactly. But it gets a little more complicated when you consider that some objects seem to be able to transition between the air and water.
Oh, wow, so sometimes they're diving in and sometimes they're flying out. Talk about a mysterious commute. So let's dive into some of those recent USO encounters. Anything from the research really stand out?
Well, one that immediately comes to mind is Congressman Tim Burchett's report. He's mentioned a USO moving at incredible speeds underwater. He's been pretty vocal about this, claiming he got the intel from an admiral.
Hundreds of miles per hour underwater. That's pretty mind-boggling.
It is.
And what about that video from 2013, the one near Puerto Rico? Didn't the government release that? I remember it seemed to show something strange interacting with the water.
Yeah, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AAO, released that footage.
Oh, AARO, they're the government organization that investigates UAPs, right?
That's right, including the ones that operate underwater, like our USOs here. And their analysis suggested that the object's speed and how it was flying weren't necessarily outside the realm of known physics. But, it's a good example of how limited sensor data can be.
Right. Makes it hard to say for sure what something is. So it seems like there's a lot of room for misinterpretation out there, but even with those limitations, it sounds like AIO is taking this whole thing seriously. What exactly is their role? I mean, what are they trying to do?
Well, their main mission is to minimize what they call technological and intelligence surprise, when it comes to UAPs. So that includes these underwater objects, too. Think of them as kind of like watchdogs, constantly analyzing data, investigating reports, trying to figure out what these objects are.
So they're keeping an eye on things.
Exactly. And it's not just conspiracy theories anymore. They even present an annual report to Congress. So this is definitely on the government's radar.
Okay, so it's official government business. That's pretty interesting. But before we get too deep into the present day, I know you mentioned some historical USO reports in the research. Have people been seeing these things for a long time, or is this a more recent phenomenon?
Oh no, the history goes way back. In fact, one of the earliest potential sightings, possible USO sightings, comes from Christopher Columbus.
No way. Christopher Columbus, we're going that far back.
Yeah, back in 1492, he describes this mysterious light he saw underwater while he was sailing through the Sargasso Sea.
Wow, now that's a historical deep dive. So we've got Columbus, we've got the Navy, we've got this dedicated government office. The mystery of USOs has captivated people for a long time.
It has.
And speaking of the Navy, there was that famous incident with the USS Trepang submarine.
Oh yeah, in 1971.
Under the Arctic ice. What happened there?
So the Trepang crew reported this high-speed object moving under the ice. They even managed to get some photographs. It's one of those cases that really gets you thinking because it's trained observers, in a very sensitive environment. And we still don't have definitive answers about what they saw.
So we have eyewitness accounts that go back centuries. But are there any official records of these events? Like a central place where all this information is collected?
There is the National Archives. They actually hold a huge collection of UFO and UAP records, documents, photos, audio recording, all kinds of stuff. So it's not just hearsay, it's documented history. It's like a gold mine for anyone who wants to really dig into this topic.
Wow, a gold mine. So we've established that USOs aren't a new thing. They've been reported for centuries, and the government's actively investigating them. But what about scientists? Are there any theories out there about what these USOs might be? Is it all just speculation, or are there serious researchers trying to figure this out?
Oh, there's definitely a range of hypotheses out there. Some scientists think we could be looking at really advanced technology, maybe secret government projects, or even something developed by another country.
Okay, so like underwater spy tech?
Maybe, yeah. Others propose even more exotic explanations, like extraterrestrial origins or even interdimensional origins.
Extraterrestrial origins. Now you're speaking my language. But seriously, are there any scientific tools or methods they're using to investigate these underwater objects? Because it seemed like the ocean would be a pretty challenging environment to study, wouldn't it?
It is, but we're not totally in the dark. Researchers are using a variety of technologies to explore the ocean depths, trying to gather data on these objects. We've got sonar, underwater drones, even satellite imagery sometimes.
Okay, so it sounds like we're starting to lift the veil a little bit on this underwater world. But given how challenging it is to explore the ocean, what are some of the biggest obstacles that researchers face when trying to identify these objects? What makes investigating USOs so difficult?
Well, I mean, the ocean is vast and deep and dark. And those USOs don't exactly make things easy for us. They can be pretty unpredictable, appearing and disappearing. And even when we do manage to detect something, it's not always easy to figure out what we're looking at.
Right, right. And it can be hard to even get down there in the first place. In the research you mentioned the Autonomous Benthic Explorer, or ABE for short. That was a real game changer, wasn't it?
It was. ABE was the first truly autonomous underwater vehicle.
Yeah, and it paved the way for a lot of the technology we use today, didn't it?
Exactly. ABE proved that we could explore the deep ocean without needing a human to actually be there.
Right, so no more diving suits in those old school submarines.
Exactly. Today we have these amazing underwater robots that can map the seafloor, collect samples, take high-resolution pictures and videos. It's incredible.
Wow. So we really do have eyes and hands down there in the deep sea.
We do.
That's amazing. But even with all this incredible technology, I imagine there are still limitations. What are some of the biggest challenges you've come across in your research into USOs?
Well, the ocean is a huge place. I mean, it covers over 70% of the planet's surface, and a lot of it is really deep.
Yeah, so trying to find anything specific down there must be like searching for a needle in a haystack.
It is, and it's not just any haystack. It's a haystack that's constantly moving and changing.
Right, full of distractions.
Exactly. And then there's the pressure. The deeper you go, the more intense the pressure gets. It takes incredibly strong and sophisticated technology to even survive down there.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And it's pitch black down there, isn't it? After a certain depth, the sunlight just doesn't reach. So how do researchers see what they're doing?
Well, sonar is a big help. It uses sound waves to detect objects and create images of the underwater environment. It's an amazing tool for exploring the deep ocean, but it does have limitations.
Like what?
Well, the sonar readings can be distorted by the water conditions, and sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between a natural formation and something that might be, anomalous.
Oh, right. So even when you pick something up on sonar, it's not always a sure thing.
Exactly. That can be tricky.
And speaking of tricky, you mentioned that a lot of reported USO sightings can actually be explained away as something totally normal, just misidentified objects or natural phenomena. What are some examples of things that people might mistake for USOs?
Well, one classic example is bioluminescence, when marine organisms emit light.
Oh, right, fireflies of the sea.
Exactly. They can create these patterns that could easily be mistaken for a USO, especially in low light.
I see. And I bet schools of fish, whales, or even unusual currents could cause some confusion too, right?
Absolutely. All of those can create strange sonar readings or visual effects that could seem anomalous at first glance.
Right, so it's like a giant game of underwater Where's Waldo, trying to spot the unusual amongst all the everyday ocean activity.
That's a great way to put it. And that's why a deep understanding of marine biology and oceanography is so crucial for anyone researching USOs.
I can see that. You have to be able to rule out the known before you can even start to consider the unknown. So it sounds like there's a lot of careful detective work involved. But even when you've eliminated all those conventional explanations, what are some of the challenges you face in actually trying to identify what a USO is?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is just that our technology and our scientific understanding are constantly evolving. So there could be phenomena out there that we simply don't have the tools or even the concepts to understand.
So we're limited by what we currently know. That's a little frustrating, isn't it?
It can be, but it also makes the whole field so exciting. There's always potential for something groundbreaking. And even when we have what seems like really good data, interpretation can still be subjective. Different experts can look at the same sonar readings, the same video footage, and come to totally different conclusions about what they're seeing.
Oh, wow. And I know you mentioned earlier that AAO, that government office, is tasked with investigating USOs. Do they have a specific method or approach they use? How do they try to identify these objects?
Well, AARO is very data-driven. They analyze sensor data, eyewitness account, really any evidence they can get their hands on to try and determine the nature of the UAP, whether it's in the air or underwater. And they've been pretty transparent about their process, too. They've even released some of their findings to the public.
Well, that's good, at least. Transparency is key, especially with a topic like this.
It is.
But what about those cases where AO can't figure it out, where they just can't come up with a definitive explanation? What happens then?
That's when things get really interesting because those unexplained cases, those are the ones that fuel further research and speculation. It leads to more questions. Are we dealing with technologies that we just don't understand? Or maybe some undiscovered natural phenomenon? Or, maybe something even more extraordinary?
Okay, now we're getting to the heart of it. The potential implications of USOs. What could it mean if some of these objects really are something out of this world? I mean, are we alone in the universe? Or are there other intelligences out there exploring our oceans? It's a question that's been around forever, and with all this mystery surrounding UFOs, it feels more relevant than ever.
It does.
So let's start with some of the more down-to-earth explanations. What if some of these USOs are actually super advanced underwater vehicles, built by another country and operating in total secrecy?
It's definitely a possibility. Underwater spy tech. It might sound like something out of a movie, but the implications would be huge.
Right, like it would mean there's all this advanced technology happening that we have no idea about.
Exactly. Imagine the kind of advancements that would have to be made to operate like that underwater. It could shift the balance of power, maybe even lead to underwater arms races.
Okay, yeah, that's a bit of a scary thought. But what about the possibility of undiscovered natural phenomena? Personally, I find that idea even more intriguing.
Me too. I mean, the ocean is still so unexplored. There could be entire ecosystems down there that we've never even seen, geological processes, new forms of life, things we haven't even dreamed of.
Right. It's like having another planet right here on Earth, just
Yeah,
waiting to be discovered.
exactly.
But of course, we can't ignore the biggest question of all, the possibility of extraterrestrial intelligence.
Wow.
What would it mean for us if some of these USOs turned out to be alien technology?
Wow, that's the ultimate question, isn't it? If we're not alone in the universe, where do we fit in? I mean, it could be the most important discovery in human history. It could change everything, our technology, our society, how we see ourselves.
It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. But it could also be risky, right? There are a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, it's both exciting and terrifying at the same time.
Exactly. And it's that mix of wonder and uncertainty that makes USOs so fascinating to people. It's not just about figuring out what these objects are, it's about tackling some of the biggest questions we've ever faced.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it makes me think about how popular culture plays a role in all this too. Like how documentaries and movies have shaped how we see USOs.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned watching the documentary Deep Sea UFOs.
Yeah, yeah.
That one explores the idea that some of these objects might actually use the water as camouflage, like maybe advanced civilizations or entities are using the ocean depths to hide.
The underwater invisibility cloak. That's a pretty cool concept. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Well, it's definitely interesting. We already know that some marine animals use bioluminescence or camouflage to blend in, right? So it's not that crazy to imagine that a more advanced intelligence could have developed even better ways of hiding.
Okay, so maybe we're not seeing them because they don't want to be seen. That's a little spooky.
It is a little bit, but it also shows just how much we still don't know about what's going on in our oceans.
Right. It's such a vast and complex environment. We're just scratching the surface.
We are.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, haven't we? We talked about historical accounts, the latest scientific theories, and even the mind-blowing implications of what USOs could be.
We have.
As we wrap up, what's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I think the most important thing to remember is that the ocean is still one of the biggest mysteries on our planet. It's a huge frontier full of potential for incredible discoveries. And, maybe even a few surprises along the way.
That's for sure.
I think as we keep exploring, we need to be open-minded, but we also need to think critically about what we're seeing.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Embracing the mystery while we search for answers.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe someday we'll finally solve the puzzle of USOs and find out what's really down there.
I hope so. Until then, the mystery continues. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of USOs. It's been a truly amazing journey. And remember, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep your eyes on the skies and the seas.